Morning Flames, it's Miss Jack. How are you? I hope all is well. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Earth Day. I'm just going to give you some fun facts, some little bit of a history of Earth Day, and then Miss Lindsay is going to talk a little bit about Earth Day as well. So I just to let you know that we celebrate Earth Day every year on April 22nd. It was established back by Gaylord Nelson. He was a senator from the States in 1970. So the state celebrated Earth Day every year for about 20 years before it became worldwide, which was back in 1990. The world joined the US, and now we celebrate it every year. So it's been around again for 50 years. Every year on Earth Day, you'll see people out in your community. We collect garbage, we plant trees. There's lots of talk about cleanup in the coral reefs. People go around and we're signing petitions about global warming and how we can save the earth and those kind of things. In 2009, the UN, the United Nations, changed Earth Day and called it International Mother Earth Day. So they changed the name from Earth Day to International Mother Earth Day back in 2009. Here's a fun fact. In 2012, 100,000 people in China rode their bikes to reduce CO2 emissions and save on fuel. What else can we have here? In 2011, 28 million trees were planted in Afghanistan in order to help with the Earth Day network. And Panama planted 100 endangered species of orchids to maintain and prevent their extinction in honor of Earth Day. So these are just some fun little facts about Earth Day. So now Miss Lindsay's going to go ahead and talk to you about how we can do our part with Earth Day and what we can do. Thank you, Flames. Hope everything's well.
Hi guys, it's Miss Lindsay here again. I hope everyone's doing well. Today I want to talk to you about Earth Day because that is coming up next week on April the 22nd. So I want to talk to you about a couple things that you guys can do at home to help out the earth, to be earth friendly. So everybody knows about the 3 R's, right? I'm assuming you said yes. So they're reduce, reuse, and recycle. So the first one is reduce. So what does that mean? It means to use or buy less. So don't buy things that you don't need, because if you throw it out, it's going to end up in a landfill, right? So you can reduce by walking or biking instead of driving when you can. If something's close, you can. Another way that you can reduce is when you leave a room, you can turn off the lights. You're reducing the amount of energy you're using. When you're brushing your teeth and you just leave the tap running, if you turn it off when you're ready to spit, then turn it back on. But when you're just brushing your teeth, turn the water off when you're not using it. That's another way that you can reduce. Another way that you could reduce is to try composting. That reduces the amount of garbage and waste that you put into the landfill. Now, we're lucky in Sudbury that we do have a curbside compost pickup, so you don't actually have to keep it in your backyard if you don't even have a backyard. So we're lucky that we do have that we can compost. And that reduces what we put into the landfill. Another way that we can reduce, and this kind of goes into the next R, which is reuse. So that's reducing the amount of single-use plastics that we use, and instead using reusable things like a reusable water bottle or a coffee cup, or if that means a normal fork or spoon, or a reusable straw instead of a plastic one. So that brings us into the second one, which is reuse. So that means to reuse it again and again instead of using things one time and throwing it out. So like I said, the reusable water bottles, coffee cups, forks, spoons, knives, straws, the list goes on. Another thing that we use a lot of one time is shopping bags or produce bags when we go to the grocery store. So we go to the grocery store and there's some apples there and they are looking so fresh. So you want some apples. So what do? You grab that plastic bag and you fill it up with apples. But that plastic bag, you then bring it home and you throw it out. There's no other use for it. So another thing that you could do is using reusable produce bags or reusable shopping bags. So you bring these to the store and then you can use them again and again. It actually saves you money too because you're not buying bags. Another thing that you guys can do is, and it's super easy, is just using both sides of your paper. So if you draw a picture or you're writing notes or whatever, use both sides. Why not? You're reusing it. You're using it for its purpose, but more than once. Another thing that you can reuse is like pasta jars. They're glass jars, right? You could recycle them, yes, but you could also reuse them. You could make them be useful for another purpose. So that brings us into the recycling. And basically recycling means to make something out of items, make a new thing out of an old item. So I won't get into the whole recycling process and the different kinds of plastics and how it's sorted and all that stuff because I would make this video way too long. But one thing that you can do when you recycle is just make sure that you rinse stuff out before you put it in the blue box. Because if you put it in the blue box and it still has food bits on it, well, that contaminates the rest of the blue box. And that means that it's just going to end up in the landfill anyway. And that means that you kind of did it for nothing. So there's a reason that recycle is actually the last R. And it's because if we were reducing and reusing effectively, then there wouldn't be as much to recycle. So those are 3 R's that you can do to make the earth a little bit cleaner and greener. So Miss Jack and I are challenging you to do something that's going to help the earth on Earth Day. And we would love to see what you've done. So if you feel like posting and you have your parents' permission, we want to see what you've done to help the earth for Earth Day. We're also challenging you to make an Earth Day poster, and if you have your parents' permission, you can post it so that we can see your awesome creations, and I'll take a picture and show you guys mine too. Happy Earth Day!